TalkPaymentRadio.com.
We give you a reason to come.
The world's greatest radio.
We give you a reason to stay.
Radio the way it should be heard.
You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and not necessarily those of TalkPaymentRadio.com, 3MR Production, its ownership, management, or staff.
We've got the power.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkPaymentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkPaymentRadio.com, radio the way it should be heard, the world's greatest radio. I'm Brother Kahari, sitting in every week at this same time with Mr. Neely Fuller. Let's bring in Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, sir, how are you doing?
I'm still learning.
All right, Mr. Fuller, tell us about how we can get your 2 definitive works on racism, how it operates, how it functions, how it continues to go on, etc., etc. Mr. Fuller, how do we get those works?
Yeah, you get it by going to your computer, put in producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And what should come up on your screen is a form for ordering a textbook workbook for victims of racism, racism being white supremacy. There's also an additional book to the basic book, and that is called a compensatory counter-racist codified word guide, and that shows a person how to use words, what words to have defined when other people use them, what words to avoid using, etc., 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 in the objective of trying to solve problems, basically the race problem, but an individual's problems too. That is in harmony with that, because you solve all problems by solving the problems of individual persons. So the books themselves, both books, are directed to individual persons. That's the victims of racism. And that will be the beginning of the end, hopefully. I'll say that we all should be in that mode now of trying to solve the biggest problems on the planet, which the biggest one is the race problem. And then all the other problems will be much easier to solve, because you can't solve the smaller problems without solving the race problem. It's not going to happen. That's the premise, anyway, of the reason for both books to exist.
Okay. Mr. Fuller, there's a lot of stuff swirling around President Obama right now, from the IRS scandal to the Associated Press scandal to Benghazi in Libya. And John Rappaport, has an interesting blog, and I thought I'd read just a little bit of this blog this morning to kind of set the stage for a little bit of the discussion in the area of politics, which is, what area is that in the book, Mr. Fuller, the area of politics?
That's the first area. There are 9 areas of activity in the first area. No, that's the 6th area.
6th area.
Correction, right.
Okay.
There are 9 areas in the book, and politics is considered to be just any interaction between people. People interact all day long. We are dealing in politics right now as we even talk. Even if we're talking about fires and floods, if one person is talking to another, that's basic politics anywhere on the planet in time of day.
Okay. Now, it seems that Chris Matthews does a show. This is from, I'm reading from a blog called John Rappaport's blog. And he filed this on May 16th. So it was I believe 16th was last week. When Chris Matthews files for divorce from Barack Obama, you know the world is upside down. when the liberal online rag Politico features a clip of Matthew saying Obama obviously likes giving speeches more than he does running the executive branch, we're through the looking glass. Now this is from Rappaport. This is not me. I'm reading his blog. The liberal jackals are stalking their own leader, the president. After making mind-bending excuses for Obama's disastrous presidency, they suddenly heard a supersonic whistle and they're out for blood. John Turley, famous liberal constitutional lawyer, is counting Obama's sins, ranging far beyond the current IRS and AP phone tapping scandals. James Goodale, former lawyer for the New York Times, is writing at the Daily Beast, Obama's fast becoming the worst national security president, worse than Nixon, and it may not get any better. Liberal host Bill Press is calling for Obama to fire Eric Holder. Charles Rangel says no one believes the president has given us a sufficient answer to the IRS and DOJ scandals. Representative Sue Lofgren and NBC's Brian Williams are down Obama's neck. Now, what he's saying is that just a few weeks ago, this is still reading from the blog, just a few weeks ago after the Boston bombing, Obama was unassailable. He was still the king with his own people. Now he's turning into lunch meat. Liberals could be shouting and claiming that the IRS targeting of conservative, patriot, and constitutional groups has nothing to do with Obama, that he's entirely innocent, that he just got rid of the IRS chief and all is well, but they're not saying it. They could be insisting that the DOJ tapping phones was all on Eric Holder and Obama had nothing to do with it, but they're not saying that. The current press virus is Obama is Nixon. What's going on? Who's giving liberals the order to go after Obama? Who shifted the political wind overnight? Is this what you had been speaking about some time ago, Mr. Fuller, when you said that Mr. Obama was not in control, that people had put him in there for a reason, and then when they were ready or when they were through or when they wanted to do something, they would set it up so it looked like they could do whatever it is they wanted to do with him? Is this what you were talking about, Mr. Fuller?
Yes. Broadly speaking, the white supremacists, those, not all white people, not talking about numbers here, I'm talking about power. The white people on this planet who believe in mistreating people based on color are in control of what happens on the planet. That's a flat statement. That statement is either true or false. I'm going to repeat it. Those white people, I don't know what the numbers are, who believe in white supremacy, which means dominating and mistreating people based on color, are the dominant political force, since we're talking about politics, but I say they're the dominant force in all areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Those white people who believe in mistreating people based on color are in control of what happens to people of color on the planet. So most issues are an issue about what color somebody is. No matter the basis for any arguments, if you filter through everything, it always comes down to, first of all, the first and major consideration is what colors are the persons. What are the color classifications? White, non-white, white supremacists. These are the three categories. And they want to know what color the people are and what category do they fit into. Then all decisions are made based on that in every area of activity. Now those statements, that series of statements that I just made, are either true or false. But if you look into it, each and every individual on the planet looks into it. I think that if they look into it in depth, they may come to the same conclusion. If they come to another conclusion, I would like to know what that conclusion is, because then it means that I have been off track, even in writing the books that I have written. So President Obama, in a capsule, is not in charge of what happens to the people on this planet. He's not even in charge of himself, because he doesn't know what's going to happen to him. He's guessing, like we're all guessing if you are a person who is classified as non-white. You're guessing every minute of every day. You're not very sure of anything. Why? Because you're not in control of anything.
So it's your feeling that when he says he doesn't know, he may not know. He said he doesn't know to all of this. Does that mean that he is being set up probably by white supremacists?
Absolutely. How would he know? That would be the question. Everything starts with a question when it comes to problem solving. Does he know? And if he does know, how did he find out? Well, last time I heard, any president, anybody who's presiding over a position that people say is a world position, you sometimes, or I guess all the time, unless you are some type of seance or some type of magician that the world has never seen, you depend on people to tell you things. So if you're sitting behind a desk on a golf course, on an airplane, and you have contact with people, and people will bring you information. Sometimes people tell you things that are not true. And most times, if someone has something against you, they don't tell you anything at all if you're supposed to be running things.
Mm-hmm.
Because you run things based on what people tell you. So a lot of times people will come to you and tell you things that are absolutely false. And then later on say, you must have understood what I told you. Or people will come to you and say, I don't have any information, when they do have information. People will deceive. People will say things that are not true. And when anything is said to one person, to another person, anywhere on this planet that is not true, and it is some consequence that has to do with an impact on people, it means you're going to have a problem. And the result is, when a lot of things that are said that are not true, that means you have, by logic, a lot of problems. The more things that are said that are not true, the more problems one has. And these problems make, if one person has these problems will spread to other people. And then the other people who didn't have these problems will have these problems, because deception is a problem maker. Fooling people is one thing that in the system of white supremacy is guaranteed to make problems.
But
white supremacists are the greatest deceivers ever.
Right. Doesn't it appear rather strange? I can't remember when one president was hit with 3 major scandals at the same time. I can remember when presidents get hit with 1 scandal at the same time. Never 3. This is kind of odd, Mr. Fuller. Do you think there's something going on here that really needs to be, we ought to give a second look to?
Well, depending on second, third, fourth look, but you can make a premise right from the beginning, and the premise is just what I just said. Anytime something is happening that shouldn't happen, and particularly if it affects huge numbers of people, particularly non-white people, the white supremacists are the usual suspects. You just slam dunk that. You just automatically say they are at it again. They are at it again. They are at it again. They are at it 24 hours a day, because this is what they do. They're problem makers. They're problem solvers. They're also problem makers. And they also take both sides when it's to their advantage. Why? Because that makes for more confusion. They will take one side of an argument, say at 9 o'clock, then they'll take another side of the argument, just the opposite side, at 10 o'clock. And then this makes for what? Confusion, because you'll say, well, you told me at 9 o'clock such and such a thing. Now here it is, you're telling me at 10 o'clock something different. Say, well, we got different information now. See, and they just keep sliding away. You can never nail anything down with them. They are the experts at making promises. Promise them anything, and don't keep any of them. The dark-skinned people of this planet, I mean, they have experienced that over and over and over again. some people who were called in old times Indians, Native Americans, etc., said, speak with forked tongue. Say one thing, do another. Very confusing people. Have to watch them all the time. And even when you're watching them, they're like magicians. They are strange. They are just, you can't put your finger on what they are doing or why they are doing it until it's too late. But they'll build you up and then tear you down, and then build you up again and tear you down again. And they seem to enjoy that kind of nonsense. And they have made the world a mess based on that type of activity. They'll say, well, what you need is a black president. I mean, to help straighten out some of the problems of the world, because a lot of people can identify with him when they look at him and they see his face and see the face of his spouse and of his offspring. Because a lot of the people who have tremendous problems throughout this entire planet look like him and look like his spouse and his offspring. Lots of people look like that. So we'll put him up front, but we'll still be doing the same kind of stuff we always do back in the back room, and what's done in the back room will dominate what he is doing sitting behind his desk. And he will become confused. And then all of the people who are supposed to be following him and looking to him for leadership, they will become confused. And then the confusion will generate anger and frustration. And then you'll just have another complete breakdown, and we'll be back in the back room just cracking our sides, laughing at all of them like we usually do, because to us, this is the perfect world, and that's making fun of them. White supremacists making fun of dark-skinned people. That's what life is all about. If we can't do that, we don't even want to breathe. That's the white supremacist philosophy.
And when you think about this whole notion of black people being frustrated, a lot of the reviews that are coming in on the President's Morehouse College speech this last week are not good. People are saying that, here you putting down black folks, but you're not doing nothing for them. There's no agenda there to help them. You haven't even mentioned their name not one time, but you come and you give the same speech to them you gave them 7 or 8 years ago. I mean, not 4 or 5 years ago. So now we're starting to see a shift in that direction. Is that what you're talking about, Mr. Fuller?
Absolutely. Now you see it, now you don't. You black people should try to pull yourselves together and try to do better than what you have been doing, and try to look out for the people who are less fortunate than you. And so this is true. See, these things, they should be done. But then when the person looks around for a means of doing it, it's not there. Because what is planned by the white supremacists, when a black male in the northwestern hemisphere and a growing number of black females get that cap and gown and walk across a stage and get that piece of paper and then walk out into this big angry world, the white supremacist agenda is you black females are going to get despaired and pregnant and not be able to find a job, and then you're going to be out here using drugs in despair. You won't be able to find a suitable black male, because I'm going to take that black male who has that cap and gown and that diploma or that degree, and I am going to put him into the streets looking for jobs until he despairs. Then he's going to rob somebody or start selling drugs, and then he's going to disappear into that prison that I have already built for him before he was born. And that is the plan that I have for him, and I have absolutely no other plan. None. Zilch, regardless of what anybody says. That's the only plan. And no one can even go and find another plan, in case someone wants to say, well, that's not the plan. Fuller's making this up, and people that talk like him, I mean, they're just going around with a whole bunch of head full of sour grapes. Okay, if that's true, show me just another plan. I don't mean something that's already happening. I mean just a plan for something happening. I don't even hear anybody talking about a plan for a college graduate who is black, that something is out here for them. Something out here where? Male or female? Where is it? Where is that something? I don't know what the something is supposed to be. Is it a plan to go to the moon? I mean, and open businesses there. I'm not even hearing about a plan. I'm not even hearing about a factory being built somewhere. What is being built is more penitentiaries and mental hospitals and some type of institutions for correcting their minds after their minds have supposed to have been corrected in those schools they went to. That was the whole point for going to school, preparing you for the real world.
Mr. Fuller,
is it happening?
No. Mr. Fuller, stay right there. More to come with Mr. Neely Fuller and the compensatory concept. I'm Brother Kahari. Stay right there. This is TalkTainmentRadio.com.
Hey, can I tell you something?
Sure, what is it?
I want to tell you about someone being cyberbullied.
What is cyberbullying?
Cyberbullying is when someone is being bullied over the internet and this person can't take it and is thinking about suicide.
Have you told someone?
No, I haven't told anyone but you. It's not my business, is it?
Yes, it is. Tiberius says it's okay to tell the proper authorities. You must tell.
You're right. It is okay to tell, and I might even be able to save her life.
Good, because if you don't tell, I will, because cyberbullying is abuse.
Thanks. I'm going to tell now.
Considering a career in allied health, fitness, HVAC, business, or electronic systems? Then look into American School of Technology. AST features nationally accredited programs, small classes, hands-on training, and personalized attention. You could get your diploma or certificate within 12 months with career assistance available for graduates. What's more, AST offers financial aid for those who qualify. Visit our website at learnatast.com. That's learnatast.com. American School of Technology, 2100 Morse Road, Columbus. 614-472-4665. 614-4 School.
Our lives are affected every day by innovations from the minds of African Americans. Support the United Negro College Fund because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Visit uncf.org or call 1-800-332-UNCF. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
The women we love, the women who love us, they are dying. Heart disease is our #1 killer, taking more lives than all forms of cancer combined. But we have the power to save those lives, our lives, because the greatest force for women is women. It's time to stand together, to fight harder, to shout louder. It's time to go red for women.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really?
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough. So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-371-5898, 800-371-5898.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
We've got the power.
Justice is better than racism.
This is the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I'm Brother Kahari, sitting in every week with Mr. Fuller. You can catch us live at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, 10 a.m., Eastern Standard Time. I'm looking at Central Eastern Standard Time, and you can catch us right here on TalkTainmentRadio.com, radio the way it should be heard, every week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays. Or you can hear the replay, one of the replays, there's several, but one of them you can hear tonight of this show at 10 p.m. If you're up, and most people are, around 10 o'clock tonight, if you're not watching the game, that is, you can listen. Of course, you can do both. You can listen and watch. But you can listen to the compensatory concept tonight at 10 p.m., the replay of what we are doing today. You can hear that tonight at 10 p.m. on TalkTainmentRadio.com. And, of course, if you want to pick up the two works that Mr. Fuller talks about, all you have to do is go and type Produce Justice. That's one word, producejustice.com, and then it comes up, and then you just follow the prompts. They will take you exactly where you should go so that you can get your copy of his two definitive works on racism, white supremacy, and all the other kinds of things that you have to know about and you need to be understanding. Mr. Fuller, we're talking about the president suddenly being under siege, and what this means in terms of how this comes about. And I can recall some months ago, actually some time ago, when we first started doing it and we started raising the question about what was his role, I remember you saying that at some point some of the very same people around him, if they were white supremacists, they would be involved in setting him up. And is this, and then now, but there's such a thing as plausible deniability also, and that is called a word that I guess it means that you ain't supposed to know nothing, so therefore you get a pass because you can deny and say you don't know. If you had to go to court, if they tried to impeach him, if he had to go to court for it, if he was put under oath like Mr. Clinton was, he could say I did not know under oath and not be lying about it. Mr. Fuller, do you really think that the president had no knowledge of any of this information based on your analysis of how you see this? And what do you think this is all leading to, Mr. Fuller?
It's leading to people criticizing him, which is why he got the job in the first place. I said that even before he got the job. He couldn't have gotten the job unless the people who believe in white supremacy wanted him to have the job. That's number one. He would not have gotten a job and a title called President of the United States if the white supremacists determined in advance, we're not going to let him have that job. He couldn't have gotten a job. He would not have even been allowed to run for election, not to say anything about being elected. He wouldn't have been in the running. He'd be somewhere with a mop and broom if they wanted him to. It doesn't have anything to do with what your abilities are. It has to do with what the white supremacists decide. They don't need to have a black president except to put a black face on a lot of things that are going to be done, that they already have planned to be done, that shouldn't be done. Things that are going to be harmful to non-white people all over the world. That's how he got the job in the first place. All black faces now, in the refined stage of white supremacy, not all black faces, but many black faces now, up front. It used to be black faces to the back. Now it's black faces up front. Why? Why do they want black faces up front? Because we are going to do a whole bunch of things that are harmful, a lot of non-constructive things, a lot of very destructive things. And we want black faces to blame it on. That's the whole procedure. We are running everything anyway. They don't run anything. They don't know anything about running anything except what we teach them. They have been subject to us, and we teach them what they know. Ever since there's a beginning, there was a system of white supremacy. So you got to keep that in mind. The system of white supremacy is the dominant political and religious force on the planet. There's never been any political system or any religious system, all of the religions put together, are not stronger than the religion of white supremacy. White supremacy is a religion. It should be looked at like that. It's the most successful religion that the world has ever seen. And it is the dominant force on the planet as we speak right now. And what is white supremacy? Again, it's racism. What is racism? It's a whole system in all 9 areas of activity, 24/7, based on domination and mistreatment of people who are classified as non-white. And it's the white supremacists, by the way, who do the classifying. And so that's what it's all about. And anything that happens in that system on a large scale, the white supremacists are to blame if it's something that happens that shouldn't happen. So all these things that President Obama is being blamed for doing or allowing to be done, and many people, because it's easy to do, say, well, it's all his fault because he can do anything he wants to do. He doesn't have to ask anybody anything. And the only reason he's not doing what he should do is because he just doesn't like to do the things that should be done. That's the way he is. He's just a no-good black person who doesn't like to do the things that need doing. I mean, he doesn't want to do the things that need doing. I mean, he's a very spiteful person or something like that. That's what people tell themselves. When most people, I think, can at least perceive he's not really running anything. So if he's not running anything, who is? So that leaves whom? The usual suspects, the white supremacists. It's always them. It's never anybody else. Now, those statements that I made, that whole series of statements, are either true or false. But I think if people start thinking along those lines, they will stumble up on that truth, because there isn't anything else to stumble up on, unless Neely Fuller is way off track.
Well, what we're hearing is the emergence of some of the old words that used to be used to describe black men. Words like lazy. I mean, we're constantly hearing that associated. We thought that word had been beaten back. Now we're hearing lazy reemerge. We're hearing he's more concerned about watching basketball, doesn't want to do any work, cannot administrate. You know, all he wants to do is have parties and play, and that's what we're getting. It's the same language that we heard being used many years ago with black males. We're seeing a resurfacing of that same kind of language, and even to kind of go a little bit further. I don't know if you've been following this golf tiff between Tiger Woods and Sergio. I think his name is Mendez. I believe that's his name. Where it got a little rough.
Sergio Garcia.
Is it Garcia? Okay. Where he said, they asked him, it was a question about whether or not he would invite Tiger to dinner or something, dinner to his home, and he said, yeah, I'd serve him fried chicken. And then, of course, that set off all the bells and whistles, and I sort of start thinking about what you had said about that. Sooner or later, that race element through code words or code symbols or whatever is going to rear its ugly head. And that's exactly what happens at all. You know, it's amazing just how deep this stuff is implanted, even in people who are 30 or 40 years younger. I mean, it's just amazing, is it not, Mr. Fuller?
Well, it's not amazing if you consider what system is in place that dominates the thought, speech, and action of the people on the planet. We're talking about planetary now. We're talking about everybody on the planet who gets up in the morning and stretches and say, well, I'm on the planet. I've got to be doing something. Where do I go and what do I do? Everybody on the planet does that. I've got to be doing something. I got to eat. I got to sleep. I got to find out what I am supposed to be doing that will work best for me and without harming other people, hopefully, you know. But then what do I do? And whom do I go to get the information that I need to learn how to function on the planet, either for something constructive or something non-constructive, because there's no such thing as in between. Every move that a person makes all day long is either going to be constructive or non-constructive. Everything that a person says in a conversation is either going to be constructive or non-constructive. There's no such thing as in between. So every individual on the planet has to make that determination every minute of the day, whether they're aware of it or not. That's what they are doing. So, who makes most of the decisions for the people on the planet? That's the question. And so when you look around, you'll see that most major decisions are based on what color somebody is, regardless of what area of activity you're talking about. Economics, education, they're still arguing about schools all over the world, whether you're in so-called Nigeria or Ghana or Memphis, Tennessee. You're talking about getting, quote, unquote, educated. But the white supremacists say, well, we will determine what education means and who will be educated and how many people will be educated and for sure what color those people will be and what they will be educated about, what they will learn. We only want them to know so much about certain things. We will tell them how much they need to know about this and that. And if they want to go beyond that, they got to get our permission, because we set the parameters of what people are going to know. After all, we don't want subordinate people to know as much as we know, because then they won't be subordinate. So that's the way it's all set up. People have to realize that. And how do you counter it? Because what I've written is about countering this kind of activity. First thing you do is expose it. You say that the white supremacists are behind everything that happens that shouldn't happen if it involves non-white people. And most of the people on the planet are classified as black, brown, red, yellow, etc., 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 and are non-white. So the system is set up to dominate and mistreat those categories of people. By whom? By the white supremacists. Now, I'm just going to say this about presidents. Now, they're talking about this president. A few years ago, there was a president who was classified as white, I presume, and he was talking about golf shots. Since we're talking about golf in this conversation, he said, watch this shot, when someone was asking him about something that was very important. I forgot what the question was, but he said, hey, watch this golf shot. More or less the message was, yeah, what you're saying may be important and may not be important, but this golf shot that I'm fixing to make is really important. And then that same president, who was classified as white, as far as I know, also said, well, what all these people out here with problems should do is go out and spend. Now, this is just a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if you want to get the economy going, go out and spend. Now, I can picture some black person sitting there with 15 credit cards saying, the president's saying that the solution to my problem is to go out and spend, get this economy going. So, what does this black person do? I guess those who did it went out and maxed out all their credit cards. That's supposed to be a solution. Now what? After you've done that, say if I had done that, I didn't take him up on that offer. I did not go and get a whole bunch of credit cards, every one that I could qualify for or try to get qualified for, and just start running up and down the block spending. Or run all over town, or run to the next town and spend. Because that's supposed to be a solution. Okay? Now, I tend to believe that I would be in big trouble if I had done that.
Well, actually, a lot of people are.
And that no problem would be solved at all. But problems would be made, primarily for me. Now, I could be in error about making that assessment, but I think that if I had done what that president advised me to do, that it would have wound up being non-constructive. Because, like I said, everything is either constructive or non-constructive.
Stay right there, Mr. Fuller. More to come with Mr. Neely Fuller and the compensatory concept, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
Hey, can I tell you something?
Sure, what is it?
I want to tell you about someone being cyberbullied.
What is cyberbullying?
Cyberbullying is when someone is being bullied over the internet and this person can't take it and is thinking about suicide.
Have you told someone?
No, I haven't told anyone but you. It's not my business, is it?
Yes, it is. Tiberius says it's okay to tell the proper authorities. You must tell.
You're right. It is okay to tell, and I might even be able to save her life.
Good, because if you don't tell, I will, because cyberbullying is abuse.
Thanks. I'm going to tell now.
Considering a career in allied health, fitness, HVAC, business, or electronic systems? Then look into American School of Technology. AST features nationally accredited programs, small classes, hands-on training, and personalized attention. You could get your diploma or certificate within 12 months with career assistance available for graduates. What's more, AST offers financial aid for those who qualify. Visit our website at learnatast.com. That's learnatast.com. American School of Technology, 2100 Morse Road, Columbus. 614-472-4665. 614-4 School.
Our lives are affected every day by innovations from the minds of African Americans. Support the United Negro College Fund because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Visit uncf.org or call 1-800-332-UNCF. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
The women we love, the women who love us, they are dying. Heart disease is our #1 killer, taking more lives than all forms of cancer combined. But we have the power to save those lives, our lives, because the greatest force for women is women. It's time to stand together, to fight harder, to shout louder. It's time to go red for women.
Are there hidden sex words that impact your brain? Are there secret images and symbols that manipulate and control your child's mind and behavior? Why are so many youth unable to resist the destructive sexual messages beamed into their brain without them knowing they are being manipulated? Do you want answers? Get the new book, Sex Code War by Kahari and Ahara, coming soon.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really?
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-371-5898, 800-371-5898.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
We've got the power.
Justice is better than racism.
This is the compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I'm Brother Kahari, sitting in every week, of course, with Mr. Fuller. You can catch us live right now at 10 a.m. It started at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday, or you can catch us again tonight, 10 p.m. It'll be a rebroadcast of what you're hearing now. If you didn't get a chance to hear it during the day, you can catch us, or you can go to the podcast, where you can catch Mr. Fuller 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All you'd have to do is go to TalkTainmentRadio.com, click on Programs, look for Compensatory Concept, click on that, and there you have podcasts, or what they call podcasts. They're really replays of the full show, and those are available 24 hours a day. And if you want to pick up Mr. Fuller's works, his 2 definitive works, you can go to producejustice.com and then follow the prompts from there, and it'll tell you exactly how to get your order in on these 2 classic definitive works that I think have set the stage for discussions all over the world, and actions and thought and speech in reference to dealing with racism from a whole different way of viewing it. Mr. Fuller, in this last segment, let's go into whatever it is that you any questions that may have come to you this week or thoughts that you want to discuss. Mr. Fuller.
Yes. Someone called me the other day and said that some white gentleman, an author, has written a book, written an essay or something in a newspaper, I don't know which, and it's about young black males who are heterosexual, or so-called straight, going around beating up young black males who are classified as gay, and that this is some type of trend. Now, immediately, I thought the white supremacists are at it again. Traditionally, this has not been happening. If it is happening, first of all, it may not be true, but it will be true if they are instigating it, because the white supremacists know how to instigate any kind of fad among black people. They can start anything and actually say that black people originated it, when they will have originated it. They're excellent at doing that type of thing. So they'll put out a word, and I want everybody to understand this, that black heterosexual males are going around beating up black gay males, and that this is a huge trend, and it's going on everywhere now. Now, they'll put out that kind of message. Now, the message most likely is not true to start with. But by them putting out that message, someone sitting around with nothing to do, and many black males are sitting around with nothing to do because they don't have jobs, and they'll think of doing just that. Then they'll go out and actually do it, and it will become true. It'll be what they call a self-fulfilling thing, or based on not self, but what somebody put out that they should be doing, since they're not doing anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so this will actually start happening. But traditionally, if people would think, if the average black person was just stop and think, that's never been the case with black males. This thing about black males going out beating up so-called gay black males, sure, there's been some teasing down through the years, like in the schools, in the school lunchrooms and whatnot, the black male who comes across as a gay person even years ago.
Now, you're using the term gay, Mr. Fuller. Are you using that term, or should you be? Or is there another term you should be using? I notice you are using that term.
I'm just using the term that they are using. That's what they say. I say so-called gays. Okay. See what I mean? Because I don't know what gay means.
Okay.
But they're talking about homosexuals, and that word is becoming taboo.
Now, you used to use the word anti-sexual.
But I use the word anti-sexual because depends on if you're talking about sex. Sex is between male and female exclusively. Now, anything else is not sex. Now, what you call it is yet to be invented, I think.
Okay.
Because I don't know what gay sex is. I don't know what lesbian sex is. I don't know what transgender sex is. But these are terms you hear all the time. I don't know what bisex is. I mean, bisex, B-I-S-E-X. What does that mean? What exactly does it mean in functional terms? I mean, sex is between male with female. The male phallus into the female vagina, or some type of interaction, even verbal, between a male and female. That's sex. A male talking to a female. You have a sexual situation there because it's a male with a female.
Correct.
A male talking to a female.
Right.
That is a sexual exchange right there. Sex is involved because you have a male with a female. It's impossible for a male person to have sexual intercourse with a male person. Also, it's impossible for a female person to have sexual intercourse with a female person. So what is the activity that they can engage in? Well, here's the key word, activity. It's an activity. It's an act of some type, but it's not sex. So I guess that's how you came up with these names. Somebody came up with the names. Oh, that's gay sex. That's bisex. That's lesbian sex. That's transgender sex. That's omnisex. That's degenderized sex. And I guess they'll have maybe somewhere down the road a whole dictionary made up of maybe about 10,000 names for it, because this is where it's going. They already have about 5 or 6. And among the 5, I think, that are named, I think it's 5, what is it, LBGT or something?
LBGT, and then there's another.
And even then, they're not including straight.
Right.
They say it's something called straight sex. I mean, sex is sex. You're either having sex or you don't have sex. I mean, what do you mean by sex? Whatever it is, I'm saying, logically speaking, it's some type of activity that involves male person with a female person. That is sex. And when you start grasping for straws, trying to make something else out of it, then you're wandering in something, I would say, some kind of strange wilderness of just whatever. I mean, that might be the term for it in the future. They'll just call it whatever. Anything sexual, you go into the courts and you say, well, whatever happened last night. Well, whatever. What do you mean by whatever? Well, some people got together and whatever happened. Because even the word sex will probably be banned in the future if you mention the word sex. I don't know where it's going. You have to ask the white supremacists about that, because that is being directed. All of it, really. All of this degenderization, all this anti-sexual activity, I'm saying, to the extent that the white supremacists have something to do with it, and I think they're behind all of it, they are using it to do harm to the non-white people of the planet. Because if you can confuse people, key term here is confusion. If you can confuse people sexually, you can confuse them in every area of activity, and you don't have to worry about them anymore.
Now, Mr. Fuller, you were saying, I didn't mean to take you off of that, but you were saying something about black men going around beating up homosexuals, or to use your term, gay. What are the implications of this?
More confusion, more conflict. See, that's what the white supremacists do. They don't care what they use as long as it's confusion and conflict. That's all they want to know. When they sit down around the table, you might say, and make their reports, they'll say, how much confusion did we generate? How much conflict did we generate among non-white people? It may take the form of something dealing with sex. Did we accomplish confusion? Did we accomplish destruction? Did we accomplish chaos? Because this is what they're after all the time. Keep them confused. Keep them in conflict. Keep them in turmoil. Keeps their minds messed up. Keep their bodies messed up. And this is how we dominate. You can't not dominate people for very long, or I will say for long periods of time, without confusing them. Because then they're easy to dominate if you can confuse them. But if you don't confuse them, it means what? You have to stand over them all day with a gun or a whip or a threat of death of some type. You have to follow them around. You cannot take your eyes off of them. But if you want to dominate millions of people, for long periods of time and go somewhere and go to sleep. And when you wake up, they'll still be doing the things you want them to do. You have to, first of all, figure out a way to keep them confused. And you have to do this not in one area of activity, like sex. You have to do this in all areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, and war, along with sex. And so this is what they're doing now. They are the usual suspects. Have them in conflict with each other about this so-called gay sex thing. You know, whether to have it, whether not to have it. What your position should be with people who are right there in your family. Whether or not you should disassociate yourself from them because they are engaging in so-called quote-unquote gay sex. Now you got conflict where you didn't have it before. That's what the white supremacists want among non-white people all over the world. Okay, and they are instigating all of it. And they want most black people on the planet, black males particularly, to become degenderized. That way, they're cutting themselves off from becoming ultimately what they should have been in the first place. And that is universal man. Universal man paired with universal woman in making the world the type of place that it should have been in the first place before anybody ever heard, first of all, of mistreatment of people, and mistreatment of people, secondly, based on color, because that's what we have had ever since the beginning of white supremacy. And the whole world is all about mistreatment now. The white supremacists glorify mistreatment. I mean, all of their folklore is about mistreatment, people killing each other. They worship death. They are death worshipers. They'd rather see something killed than something being brought to life. That's not thrilling. You know, that's why they call novels and movies that are made thrillers. And you say, well, what is a thriller? You know, they made a movie, they made another movie, 10,000 movies, and a huge percentage of them are thrillers, THRILLERS, thrillers. What's a thriller? Oh, well, you get thrills from it. Well, what's a thrill? Oh, well, go and see them. And you say, oh, lots of people killing each other, lots of bloodshed and all like that. Yes, 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 that's a thriller. Isn't that thrilling? Isn't that wonderful? Don't you want to go and get a gun now and run up and down the street killing your neighbors? That's wonderful. That's the kind of world we want. That's entertainment. It's also education. It's also the whole essence of life. It's what life is really all about. Being a hero. Being a hero doing what? Killing people. I'll put a medal on your chest. Go out and kill somebody. Come back. I'll give you a parade. Don't we love it? And if you're killing dark-skinned people, oh, doesn't get any better than that. It's called racism. It's the greatest thing that the world ever thought of.
Well, so your message we got about 30 seconds. Your message, Mr. Fuller, to young black males who are tempted to go this route is what?
Is, well, don't embrace it and don't go around doing harm to people who are that way. We all have, distant relatives, if not very close relatives, if we're not that way ourselves. I mean, people who have that persuasion of being what they call anti-sexual or gay or whatever you want to call it. You don't do harm to people. I mean, but at the same time, you keep in mind, sex is between male and female. It doesn't get any better than that.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. We appreciate you as always.
Thank you.